content covered may be graphic in nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Witchcraft.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely it's really
Just, I love stories like this because it's
scared to death.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah, there are countless stories bad enough.
You shouldn't fuck with.
Right, and the JFK assassination limo.
Too real.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. From the mistake on the lake, deep within the Great American Rust Belt, I bid you all a fair Thursday evening. This is T3TV. I'm your host, John Budzinski, alongside Steve Buddha Gibson.
What's up?
And Danielson, Stephen Rady.
What's happening?
Steve Gibson and Steve Rady.
Back to you,
That's my
Steve.
uncle's name.
Isn't your middle name Stephen?
Yeah, my middle name's Stephen, but my uncle, who's passed away, but his name was Steve.
Oh, really?
That's what I'm named after. Yep.
Nice.
Thanks for the morbid opening, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm happy to give that to you, man.
So it was a good show last week, and I feel like we're picking back up on the momentum of that. And then also we hung out the night afterwards. We all got tacos at a local taco joint around here, and we went about a year ago, and Dan didn't care for the tacos all that much there, but I think I changed his opinion. So how did that Nashville hot chicken taco do for you?
It was good. It definitely was better than the other one. But I'll be honest with you, and I know I'm going to take a ton of flack on this, but it was good. But if I had a choice between that and a bean burrito from Taco Bell,
He really is nuclear on the inside, I swear.
I am. It was good, but I just would never drive that far out of my way to get it because it's not that good. It's good, but it's not that good.
Buddha's not surprised, so he's just going to be quiet about it.
Yeah. Well, I know he's thinking of some smart ass comment. And she's give him a few minutes.
Nope.
Dan, tell me you're poor
See?
without telling me you're poor.
All right. All right. But yeah, so how was your guys' week/weekend?
It was fantastic.
Anything interesting happen?
No,
Not really.
that's why it was fantastic.
Yeah.
No,
there you
actually, started. So I just dicking around with some original stuff lately, and Rob actually came over Tuesday, hung out for a couple hours. We kind of got some shit pumped out. Pretty excited about that because I finally feel like.
Did you play drums on it?
Not yet. I was thinking about doing it Saturday because Natalie's going to be gone for whatever the fuck she's gone for, bachelorette party.
There you go.
So I was thinking about doing that, but
Nice.
yeah.
So we're gonna actually hear some original music from Buddha soon.
Soon enough.
So
Soon.
did you write the guitar parts too?
I did. I wrote everything.
Wow.
So
Nice.
I mean, I had some input, of course, but
Nice.
yeah.
Do you have a working title?
No, not yet.
Not. When you were and Rob were jamming before, you guys had really interesting working titles for your songs. Couch Potato.
Because they never had anything to do with the songs.
Yeah, Couch Potato was one of my favorites. Sea Thang.
Yeah. Tony actually came over last week.
Yeah.
And we sat down with it for a little bit.
Yeah. Look at you. Who do you think you are? Butch Vig or something?
Fucking A, man.
He didn't ask my input.
Dan, I'm waiting for the call.
Well,
You're the one
that
that's
would
been
require-
talking for about 10 years.
That would require you to have a USB microphone and a Casio keyboard.
A Yamaha, get it right.
All right, sorry. Dan, how was your weekend? You went? Didn't you make a road trip?
Yeah, went to Michigan on Saturday. This little town called Hickory Corners. It's almost on the west end near Lake Michigan. But there's a car show there that's a museum called the Gilmore Museum. And they had a Cadillac show there. So yeah, it was a good road trip. There was 8,000 fucking detours in Ohio. That screwed my whole timing up. And my navigation system in my car, which is a little bit out of date, had no idea that there was some new freeways built. So
yours runs off of actually satellite maps built into the car.
Well, correct, but it has updates. I'm refused to pay $150 to update it. They send the updates over the air.
And your car does not have like a CarPlay or Android Audio or anything like that?
No, it does not. Nope, it was right before they started doing that.
Yeah. I feel like that was a way to cheap out on it, but I also feel like it's almost better, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, I wish, they started that like in around 16, 17 on most of your cars. But yeah, mine doesn't have that. But I got through it. You know, my buddy was in the car and he used his, Google Maps on his phone and we got through it. But it was a long frickin' ride. But
how many hours in the car?
There, one way, it's like almost a 5-hour drive.
Is that with detours?
That was with the detours, yeah.
What about on the way back?
On the way back, it was a little better because we took Route 2 that goes in through Toledo and Sandusky. We just took that all. So it was a little better on the way back, but
yeah, you sent me a picture of a DeLorean there.
Oh yeah, I thought of you right away. That they have that DeLorean there. I thought maybe you would recognize the person's name who owned it. I don't know if you zoomed in on that or not.
No, I didn't see that. Yeah, it was a good weekend for me too. Nagel came out from Pennsylvania, brought him and Joey Kovacs. Joey Kovacs worked on the Time Machine restoration team, and so we went to a local hamvention out here, and it's at the Berea Fairgrounds, which is not too far from our house, and it's kind of a small one, but a bunch of old ham radio operators get together and they sell a lot of their old electronics, and I didn't really think that they were going to find anything, but they filled my trunk up. I was pleasantly surprised, and for being a small show, they definitely they got a haul. So
you're talking like vintage CBs and stuff?
Stuff like that, switches, toggle switches, electronics boards, heat sinks, things like that to build radios. A lot of those parts are on the actual Time Machine. So
gotcha.
They got a nice little haul there, and it was good to see those guys. And back in April, I went out to Pennsylvania to hang out with Gary in his workshop, and we built one of the TFC switch that turns on the time circuits for me, because I have a set of time circuits, and now I have the TFC switch that turns them on, and it's pretty badass. So, but yeah, so that was Saturday and Sunday, and that was good, and just back into the swing of things. So, but yeah, I don't know. Sounds like so. It was a good weekend. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, the other thing wasn't really the weekend, but Monday I went. Buddy of mine got some free tickets for club seats at the Indians game, so it was the final game at home for the Indians. So I went to that, had club seats. It was a beautiful day for that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And they won too. So
was it weird?
For me, I am not a giant Cleveland fan. I mean, I've only been to the Progressive Field, a handful of times in my life. I haven't been there a ton of times.
Sure.
But the mood there was very strange because, they knew that was the final game as the Indians at home. They still have a few more games that they're playing on the road, but that was the final game. But yeah, the mood there was definitely, the last time I went to an Indians game was like 2008. It's been a long time, so the mood was so different from what I remember it the last time I was there.
Yeah, I went to a game with club seats this past year, and it was pretty fun. So unfortunately, the season's over, but new season next year, new name. We'll see what happens. It might be, maybe it'll be the year that we win the series in the name change, and we're gonna get into Superstitions tonight, and so we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you guys good for a couple quick news stories, and then we'll get into the campfire?
Go for it.
As long as they don't suck.
All right. Well, I make no guarantees there, Buddha. And shout out to Lawrence of The Simpson is in the chat room again tonight. Shout out Larry. Okay, so this one's out of Texas, UPI.com. Authorities in Texas said a driver using the high occupancy vehicle lane was ticketed when deputies noticed that the only passenger in his car was a Halloween skeleton. The Harris County Precinct 5 Constable's Office said in a Facebook post that the driver was pulled over by deputies who noticed that the driver was the only human being in the vehicle while it was using the Katy Tollway HOV lanes. The passenger seat of the vehicle was occupied by a Halloween decoration wearing a hat. Our deputies saw right through the ruse and issued the driver a bona fide citation. the post said. So there you have it.
There you have it.
I thought it was kind of funny. And then let's see, one other story here out of UPI. Again, I mean, you know, there's tons of things going on in the world, but they're all depressing. So this one says a Florida gun collector solves mystery of Louisiana's long lost moon rock. This one's from September 28th. A long lost moon rock presented to the state of Louisiana by NASA after the Apollo 17 mission in 1972 has been returned returned to the state by a Florida man who purchased the plaque to use the wood for gun repairs. The Florida man, who chose to remain anonymous, said he frequently buys plaques at garage sales and thrift stores to use the wood for gun repairs. And he was recently going through one of his boxes of plaques when an unusual item caught his eye. The plaque contained an odd stone, and the inscription on the metal plate told its story. This fragment is a portion of rock from Taurus Littrow Valley of the Moon. It was part of a larger rock composed of many particles of different shapes and sizes, a symbol of the unity of human endeavor and mankind's hope for a future of peace and harmony. The rock had been collected by astronauts on the Apollo 17 mission in 1972 and was presented to the state of Louisiana once it was brought back down to Earth. The Florida man said he had likely purchased the item at a garage sale at some point in the past 15 years. It says, I can't even tell you how long I owned it for. I'm not even sure how much I paid for it. But I buy plaques to take the wood from the plaques and send them over to my gun stock guy, and he makes grips for my Colts and so forth. The man contacted the Louisiana governor's office and was directed to speak with the Louisiana State Museum. They wanted me to mail it out to them. I said, I'm not mailing this thing out. I will hand deliver it. And with that, that is what I did. So I just can't believe, like, how did that go missing?
Yeah, that's a weird, I don't know.
And, like, nobody in Louisiana was like, hey, where did our moon rock go? It ended up in somebody's garage sale.
It's like it's like that movie Big Bully with Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold.
Don't know nothing about it.
No?
No.
Oh,
What's that?
the kid, you don't remember that?
No.
That movie from like the 90s when he stole the moon rock from like the museum or whatever on the field trip, and then Rick Moranis is the one that told on him, and then he like bullies him because he ended up going to jail or something like that.
Really? No, I didn't know anything about that.
I didn't hear that either.
Oh.
Well, all right.
No,
but I just, how does it get out of, wouldn't you think that something like that would be heavily protected? Then only for it to end up in a garage sale and then end up back in, and they were just like, yeah, sure, bring it back, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Dude, there was I just was like reading some article like maybe a couple weeks ago about this dude that was like a jewel thief, and he literally walked into like this museum, and the amount of security they had was like so lackluster that he just basically like walked up and like opened the case and took the stuff and left, and like that was it. It was just like something on display in like a museum, and he just walked up and took it.
Unbelievable. Well,
it's like they don't care about it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that stuff is fake though. Like how much of it is a decoy?
That's a good point. That's a great point.
Yeah.
And they have it somewhere else, like in the actual museum, hidden in like a safe or something.
Well, they also say like on dinosaur skeletons, maybe only one bone out of the entire presentation is actually real.
Right.
So
usually when they do that though, they're like discolored. So it kind of is meant to like it, it finishes out the skeleton, but they'll discolor it so that it's not like the actual. Well, I don't even know if that's why they do it, but it comes out discolored because no one's putting in the time to make it look like it's a fossil.
Huh. Yeah, I'm not sure. But
I'm not a dinosaurologist.
Yeah.
You're not?
No. And so and then we also have Dog the Bounty Hunter now looking for Gabby Petito's fiance.
Dog's like 95 years old.
I know he got on TV today, or I saw a clip of him. I mean, he looks like a wallet.
He's
shiny
always looked that way.
And super tan, and I'm just like, is this guy even like he's like preserved with embalming fluid or something?
He looks like the
like that 10
Garfield
years ago.
Bulldog.
Wait, what's that?
I said he looks like the Garfield Bulldog.
Oh, he's on the cover of every folder. Bulldog Pride, go Dogs. Well, his nickname's Dog. There you go.
Yep.
All right.
But he looked like that 10 years ago, man. He was always rough looking.
Yeah.
I mean, if you live in the sun, what do you expect?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Imagine all these cops and FBI agents are looking for this guy, and it's going to be Dog who finds him.
Right.
Just another
great bit of confidence in the law and FBI.
Right. But yeah, this guy nicknamed Dog finds this guy in the woods somewhere. Dog's on the. He's got a scent. I guess they found they located a campsite that's fresh. It's like, it's really. I mean, he's embodying the nickname Dog.
It's crazy. We talked about this a while back, I think over the summer, John, or Buddha. One of you guys had brought up how, people go missing and they just disappear. And
yeah,
it's crazy because we always kind of connect that to how the FBI and everyone tracks you in your cell phone, your cell phones and your credit cards and shit like that. And this story right here, they can't find this guy. They got half the country looking for him. And I don't know if you remember, about a month ago, a woman near us in Medina went missing. She came back and they found her, but she was gone for almost a month. I don't know what the story was. Maybe it was some kind of marital dispute or something between her and her husband. But she didn't take cash with her. Or I'm sorry, all she used was cash. She didn't take any credit cards, and she did not take her cell phone. And the FBI and the law enforcement could not locate this woman no matter what. And that just goes to show you that that's just it right there. That's how they find people, is through the cell phone towers. And, that's how they find everyone. If you want to commit a crime, you just leave your cell phone and take a bunch of cash with you, and they're probably never going to find you.
Yeah. Detective Dan on the loose.
Yeah, there you go.
The FBI is not really interested in actually solving any crimes.
Right. One day I'm going to be a detective, just so you know that. But
yeah. All right. Either of you want to go first tonight? How about Buddha? You go first.
Oh, shut down, Dan.
I could.
Now who's doing the vehicle story? I want some theme music.
I think you'd better just let me go first.
No, it's too late.
All right.
So that's actually a perfect segue, because that's actually got a lot to do with what is going on in my story.
All right.
So
here we go.
This is actually an article, and this story's been around for a while, but this article is it's called damninteresting.com. It's called The Wrath of the Killdozer. And probably a lot of people have heard this one, because it's, like I said, it's been around for quite some time. But so there's a man that lived there named Marvin Heemeyer, and it was Granby, Colorado, and he owned like a chain of muffler repair shops. And in the late 1990s, after years of protests, petitions, town meetings, it just kind of became obvious that this situation that he had gotten himself into was just turning into a giant shit show between him and like the city council and the zoning board and all that. So pretty much the backstory is not really super relevant as far as like what the action is, but it says Heemeyer first became enamored with Colorado when he was stationed there in the Air Force. After his service ended, he ended up moving to Grand Lake, Colorado, and opened a small chain of muffler shops in the surrounding cities. Operated those for a while, just kind of ended up leasing them out to other people, but he did keep one of them, Mountain View Muffler in Granby. And in that one, he operated himself. So it says he was actually involved with politics pretty much as soon as he moved there. He kind of established like himself politically, just with the city that he lived in Colorado. And it's said that he was generally well liked among his friends and neighbors, and was described as an enjoyable person. And he was a strong proponent of legalizing gambling and published at least 2 newsletters to disseminate his views. Then it also said that if he was your friend, he was like your best friend, but if he wasn't your friend or he didn't like you, you were basically his worst enemy. And it says I guess he was kind of known to some people for having a pretty disgusting temper. And it says even here, a reporter for a local paper interviewed him about an editorial an op-ed to gambling, and it says it was reported that he got so enraged that it nearly came to fisticuffs. And in another instance, Heemeyer threatened to kill a customer's husband when she refused to pay for a faulty muffler repair. So, hang on one sec.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Oh, it sounded like it cut out. I was like, are you guys still there?
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, late 1990s, the Dochev family approached Heemeyer to buy one of his remaining shops. And what they wanted to do was buy it, knock it down, and use the land to build a concrete batch plant on the land. And it was a matter of public record that Heemeyer had purchased the land originally for $42,000. Dochev reported that they agreed to buy the land for $250,000, but the deal fell apart when Heemeyer decidedly raised the price to $375,000, and then somehow talks of upwards of $1 million, and basically the whole thing just kind of fell apart. And it says it was due to Heemeyer's indecisiveness. So this is when it kind of starts to get a little hairy. So the Dochevs decide to go to the Granby City Council and try to get the land rezoned or surrounding his last existing muffler shop. So Heemeyer was involved in the rezoning process from the outset and attended town meetings, just to basically protect his interest. But nevertheless, 2001, the zoning commission and trustees approved the rezoning request, basically awarding it into the Dochev's favor. And then, adding an apparent insult to injury, the plan for the concrete plant that was going to be built cut off the only route to his muffler shop. And then the city also fined Heemeyer for having quote-unquote junk cars on his property and failing to have his shop hooked up to the sewer line. So it's like a pretty big setback to him. And he tried to kind of work with them. He appealed the zoning commission's decision, went around, got signatures, got the townsfolk to petition against having this plant built there. He tried to get permission to install a sewer line but it was under 8 feet of land, which was owned by Mountain Park Concrete, and the new owners happened to refuse. So he was trying to make things right, but they just kind of said, fuck you. You messed with us too much. Yeah. So it says that because there wasn't a road, he even went out and went as far as buying his own bulldozer just to build a new road that would allow customers to access his muffler shop. But the city council declined to approve that plan. So by this point, it says that a lot of people kind of suspected that there was some shady dealings going on between the concrete plant and the members of city council, but there was never really an investigation, and there was no evidence of any actual illegal things happening, of course. But so having no recourse, Heemeyer sends in the $2,500 for the fine and writes on the memo of the check, cowards, and then he sold the muffler shop property to a trash company and was given 6 months to vacate. So after that happens, he decides he's going to work on one final project. And because he has 6 months to do it with still having the shop, he decides that the bulldozer that he bought, which is a Komatsu D335A that was meant to save his business, he decided to modify it for what was going to be his last stand. He started by adding homemade composite armor, which was cement sandwiched between thick sheets of steel, and those were covering the cab, the engine, and parts of the tracks. He installed front and rear cameras to feed images to monitors inside the cab. And then I also read in another article that he actually ran compressed air lines. So if any debris or anything got on the cameras, he could blow it off just to keep the cameras rolling the whole time. And he also put in several gun ports that were set around the control center. A stockpile of food and water were also stored inside, as well as an air tank to help provide air circulation. And then throughout the construction, Heemeyer documented his progress through notes and audio tapes, and there's a bunch of stuff that was said on tape and written down and whatnot, and you could just tell this guy, he was kind of like, he was a little unhinged, almost like a guy at the end of his rope. And some of the stuff that was listed was in quotes, because of your anger, because of your malice, because of your hate, you would not work with me. I'm going to sacrifice my life, my miserable future that you gave me to show you what you did is wrong. And it says he had several visitors at his shop during the time that he was actually working on the vehicle, but nobody ever happened to seem alarmed that he was basically weaponizing a bulldozer. He credited
this thing
that
really does look like. I mean, it looks.
Oh,
like a
dude,
weapon.
it's pretty beef, dog. But he credited no one ever actually seeing that as a weapon by a higher power that was clouding their vision. So, like I said, he's a little unhinged.
Yeah.
And then one of the last things that it has here written was, I was willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable, and sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things. So, fast forward, 2004. His father passed away in March. He broke off his engagement when he caught his betrothed with another man. And then the morning of Friday, the 4th of June, Heemeyer mailed his audio tapes to his brother, went to his shop, climbed into his bulldozer with a handwritten list of targets. And he used a winch to lower a concrete top that had a steel shell which would cover the top of the vehicle. And at this point, once it was lowered, there was no way to get out. So he basically sealed himself in a box that he would never be able to get out, and at the same time no one could open it. Like it says, nothing short of a crane would be able to lift a 30-ton armor shell off the vehicle once it was in place. At just after 3 p.m., the makeshift tank tore through the side of his shed, smashed into Mountain Park concrete plant. Shortly thereafter, the phone started. The 911 response center began ringing incessantly, and a man named Cody Dochev witnessed the destruction in progress and attempted to use a front-end loader to intercept the rampaging bulldozer, but withdrew when he was fired upon by the gun ports of the Killdozer. Within 2 minutes, multiple vehicles were eviscerated, and the Killdozer rumbled towards the highway into town. It says the slow-moving bulldozer picked up a parade of emergency vehicle escorts as it approached city limits, and one police SUV was crushed when it strayed too near. Under Sheriff Glenn Traynor managed to jump on top of the bulldozer. It says he fired off 37 rounds with his service pistol trying to shoot his way in, and it literally did nothing. Heemeyer and his Killdozer arrived in town. The Granby police were already there waiting for him. And at this point, they just basically opened fire on him, and it just did nothing. It says it was impervious to bullets, so then they stepped it up and tried using explosives, which those also had no effect on any of the body armor or anything.
Holy shit.
Lawmen kept to the side and tried to vacate anyone from its path, and the local police utilized the reverse 911 system to call residents and warn them of approaching danger. I did not know that was a thing. Huh, that's weird. News helicopters began filming everything from above, and there's actually a ton of video on this, but yeah. I mean, if I sit here and played the video, we'd be here all night.
Right. No.
But and then it says, naturally the vehicle, or the vehicle that he was driving, it being so big, was difficult to control and swerved widely through the streets, but he was still able to seek out and hit specific targets. The bulldozer effortlessly demolished cars and buildings, including the home of a former mayor, the office of a newspaper that had sided against him in the editorial, the businesses of a former city councilman, and the city hall. And despite the destruction of property, no people had been injured or killed, which is actually, if you watch the video, you can definitely tell that he's like targeting specific things, because he's like making like a wide berth around other vehicles and stuff. It's not like he just plowed through every single thing.
No, yeah.
So,
it very calculated, deliberate.
Yeah, so like,
and careful, like
it was precise with a hint of madness.
Yes.
Like for sure.
Yeah.
So it says the Granby police requisitioned an industrial scraper to pit heavy equipment against heavy equipment, but the Killdozer basically just kind of shoved it off to the side. After about an hour,
out of Twisted Metal.
Yeah, dude, exactly. It It's a boss fight. After about an hour, the bulldozer had demolished 13 structures and was en route to its next target, which was Gamble's hardware. The damage from small arms and extra weight of the armor began taking a toll, and the radiator sprung a leak, and the Killdozer was now losing horsepower. As the machine crashed through the wall of the hardware store, the floor of the hardware store broke, and then the front end of the bulldozer fell into the shallow basement. The engine struggled, but it could not power itself out of the pit. So basically, it kind of was like teetering, because once it broke the wall, it broke the floor, because, that stuff's not really made to hold up a bulldozer. SWAT teams then surrounded the wounded Killdozer, and one of the SWAT members reported hearing a single muffled gunshot from within the cab, and then the vehicle didn't move again. It says the rampage ended. The rampage had lasted 2 hours and 7 minutes and caused about $7 million in damage. Explosives were employed to try to open the tank, but in the end, it took 12 hours with an oxyacetylene torch and a crane to crack the armored top. Inside, they found Heemeyer, who was dead, obviously, who shot himself in the head with a .357. He was the lone casualty. Today, there are a number of groups which idolize Heemeyer and his fight against a corrupt system, celebrating his ingenuity, ambition, and his apparently valiant effort to prevent any casualties. But it is unlikely that Heemeyer himself deserves credit for the lack of serious injuries or deaths. Many of the buildings he razed were occupied moments before he attacked, and there was also evidence of shots fired from the tank at multiple locales, including one attempt to detonate a cache. Is it cache or cache?
Cache.
To detonate a cache of propane tanks, and a reported attempt to push a wall down onto a pair of police officers. So if you do watch the video, there are certain parts where you can see him shooting at the cops. That's not really surprising, but I actually, if you look at a lot of the comments, it really is kind of split down the middle. A lot of people are like, man, this guy is fucking nuts. He's just a crazy, terrible person. And the other half are like, well, when you push somebody too far, this is what you get.
Yeah. Almost kind of like Michael Douglas falling down.
Yes, exactly.
Critical Drinker did a take on falling down. Do you guys ever heard of that channel, Critical Drinker?
No.
He's a writer, and he's actually pretty successful, novelist, and basically he just does commentary on movies, the state of film and writing today for motion pictures. And ever so often he'll go to he does also a series called The Drinker Recommends, and he's Scottish too, which is the way he talks, he talks drunk, but in a Scottish accent. It sounds really funny. But he talks about falling down and how the movie is it's almost like a video game, whereas as he's fighting other people, he's also leveling up his skills. I don't know, it was just funny the way he described the movie, but I don't know. This I'm looking here and it's just, I can't believe how long, what did they say how long it took to build this thing?
This says 1.5 years he worked on it. But it says in the end, once the cab was opened, his body was removed, they inventoried numerous guns and found his list of targets in addition to buildings and businesses. The list included names. Yeah. And then and they dismantled the bulldozer and then scattered the parts through a bunch of different scrap yards, just so people weren't going there trying to collect, memorabilia of it, which is kind of fucking weird.
Yeah.
But
I could see people doing it though.
Oh, for sure.
Unfortunately.
So, all right. So all of that being said, and without going into way much more, because there's a lot of conflicting stuff depending on how deep you go into the details with some of the articles. How do you feel? Do you feel that it is more vigilantism what he did, or do you think it was dude, you went too fucking far?
I think everybody at one point in their life has been frustrated, not to the point of madness, but there's a sense of there's a threshold that you just don't go across. And I think, I think he went too far. But there's part of you that could be empathetic towards his situation and saying like you said, people could be like, well, when you push somebody that far, eventually, there's going to be one person that bites back against the system. I don't think, and that's just sheer statistics and mathematics, like the probability of that happening. There's a likelihood that one out of, millions of people might actually do something like that. The one thing that I was thinking about is that he didn't kill anybody. He did do $7 million worth of damage, which, don't get me wrong, is a lot of money. But, do you think he would have done life in prison for that? I mean, I see 30 to 40 years maybe. He may have gotten out of prison and still been alive.
It sounds like it was sheer luck that he didn't kill anybody. You said there was some buildings that were occupied just before.
What I'm saying is that it would have worked in his favor.
Like, had he survived.
Yeah, and not killed himself. Like, if they had apprehended him, he may have only done a certain amount of jail time.
Oh, you're saying had he not just had it went down the way it did and he didn't kill himself, yeah.
Correct, yes.
I don't think he would have done no 40 years.
I don't think he would have done life?
No, hell no. I think the guy, if he wouldn't have killed anyone, I think he might have, you could have seen him doing maybe 15, 20 years. I don't think he would have gotten 40 or 50 years for that. At least I'm no lawyer, but I wouldn't see that much time.
I think
vehicular assault. What is that?
I think once you get assuming the amount of people that he attacked, an ex-mayor, city councilman, you're going away for a long fucking time. And it's mainly just because of the people that you're targeting. Although, I mean, if you have a list of names, and that obviously shows intent on top of every other thing you just fucking did, I don't know, man. I think if they charged him as all separate things instead of one big thing, and then all the charges stacked, you could be looking at a really fucking long time. But with the way this was, obviously, there was no chance of him ever surviving, and that was his doing.
I want to...
I'm looking here at Colorado law, and I'm saying that vehicular assault, class 4 felony, is 2 to 6 years in prison with the presumptive range up to 12 years if a judge finds extraordinary aggravating circumstances. But, I mean, think about all the places and people that, I mean, they could have done that times 30, you know what I mean? And then, you're looking at over, 300 years in prison.
I was going to say, getting back to what Buddha said, he asked you and you answered the question about what we thought. Did he go too far? Was it, justified? And I'll give my opinion on that real quick. I think... I understand how people can get pushed too far. I mean, 2017 was not a good year for me. I think you guys know I went through a lot of stuff that year, and it was a pretty dark area for me for a while. But I think people that do stuff like this and go out and, try to kill people because they've had it in a situation where they've been pushed, even in his situation, which you can feel sort of sorry for him. But I think those are weak, very, very weak-minded people. I would never consider a person like this a hero because there's other avenues you can take. There's other ways you can fight. A strong person fights on and on and on and they may lose in the end, but the answer isn't, destroying and attempting to kill people and destroying property. It's just not the answer. And I absolutely think the guy went, completely overboard.
Yeah, I think I'm in line with you. I was struggling to find the words, but yeah, take that negativity.
Do something with it.
Yeah, there's a lot more positive things that you could do. He could have ran for local political office to try to change. I was thinking that too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
right. Yeah. You do something with it. Do something with it, Jake. And then he ended up killing himself. And then what was the point? It didn't. All he did was make the news stories, and it's an internet story right now. Buddha's doing, but it's take a hold of stuff and quit feeling fucking sorry for yourself and the situation. Yeah, you might have been dealt everybody, I think one of you just said it, everyone's dealt an unfair hand in life. Not everyone's dealt a fair hand, and we all get those, those pitches, those curveballs at us. you got to do shit with that and try to make the situation better. That's my opinion.
I think you should just blow more shit up.
Ah, well, that figures. That doesn't surprise me.
Agree to disagree.
You don't honestly believe, even you don't believe that, do you, Buddha?
Oh no, I think this guy was nuts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just I think I can understand. I mean, for sake of not going down this rabbit hole, but I think anybody that has lived through this last year and a half can put themselves in the place of this guy with that level of frustration.
Yeah.
Now, the mass amount of people are not going to do this because they can't afford a bulldozer.
Well, that, and they also...
and they lack the steady hand to craft that.
Yeah, I can't see
And
too many
concrete.
millennials or Gen X's or Gen Zs being able to do what this guy did.
Yeah,
Just ain't going to happen.
I mean, let's be honest, though. The workmanship is it's remarkable.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I was looking at a picture of it. It's actually very good.
Yeah.
But
I couldn't do it.
There's that threshold that, most people, the vast majority of people won't cross that threshold. But again, I mean, just math and statistics prove that eventually, I mean, there will be something else like this that happens again. You know what I mean? There's
Sure.
always going to be somebody that with a certain mindset was pushed too far, and unfortunately something bad happens. I mean, it's the same thing, like what? So this was 2004. You think about like what happened in Nevada.
Yep.
Around with that guy just shooting people from the hotel window. Like, I mean, what good did that do?
How many stories do you hear with domestic violence where, I mean, it's a different level, but when the husband finds his wife cheating or has another boyfriend and the guy goes in and kills his entire family, kills his kids and his wife, you hear that story at least once a month across the country, and it's at the same level. The guy lost it, got pushed to the edge, and unfortunately took the poor kids. A lot of times kills the kids, but it happens.
Man, I think the most disgusting shit is like that one story, and I don't know if you guys remember this. The woman wanted to get a divorce with the dude, and he wasn't having it, so he like shot their daughter in the street, like in front of her, and then like I think he killed himself. Oh. And now this woman is left like oh, that shit to me, man, like that shit makes my fucking blood boil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Why?
Yeah. You guys remember that story right down the street from us? You remember Cracker Barrel back in like 2013?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I remember that.
That's true.
That guy. There was a party. It was a friend of a friend was one of the first cops to show up on the scene, and he was one of the cops that killed the guy because he went into the place. It was a birthday party for the daughter, and the wife, which was terrible timing, she announced to the guy that she was divorcing him, and he completely snapped, went out to his vehicle, got a shotgun, and killed both daughters and the wife. I mean, it's taking the kids. I mean, killing anybody's horrible, but killing the innocent kids is just like, what in the what is going on?
Was that Tiedemann?
Yeah.
It amazes me that place is still in business after something like that.
Yeah, it's always been in there.
They had to read completely without getting into gruesomeness. They had to clean that place out really bad because he took a shotgun to her, and they had to revamp and completely redo the entire front like lobby area that you walk into, where you can buy things and that. They had to redo that whole entire area because it was it was bad. So
you know what though, man? Like I feel like when people do that stuff in a public setting, it's because she knew he was fucking unstable, and she probably thought, if I do this in a public setting, he's not going to cause a scene. Like that's probably what the mindset was.
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
He just happened to be exponentially unstable.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan.
Yes. All right.
I don't know why, but like that song, it's just you.
It is. I was just watching Rockford earlier today, actually. Episode I saw 50 times in a row already, but not in a row, but 50 times total.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
thank you for the story, Buddha, by the way.
Yup.
Nice story.
Yeah. So you guys remember what you were doing? Obviously, you were just both little kids. I was probably about, I don't know, 14 or 15 at the time. You guys remember what you were doing June 17th, 1994?
I was watching Naked Gun.
Wow. So you do remember that date,
Yeah.
huh?
No, I was 9 years old. I can't tell you what I was doing that day, but we know where this is going. So
Of course, yeah. So I myself was actually playing baseball with a bunch of friends, and I came back home to find my mom and dad glued to the TV watching the very strange, very bizarre, slow car chase of O.J. Simpson. Do you guys remember your parents tuning into that eventually?
I think I remember just them watching clips, but yeah.
You didn't really know what was going on?
No.
I really don't remember any of it.
Don't remember? Okay, yeah. And like I said, I remember, bits and pieces myself. But anyway, so yeah, the story of O.J. Simpson, obviously, without getting into, this isn't going to be about, whether he did it, whether he didn't do it, did the glove fit, did the glove not fit. We're not getting into any of that crap at all. That's a whole different...
Wait, can I just make one point?
Sure.
This motherfucker did it because he literally wrote a book that was like, I didn't do it, but if I did, this is how I would do it. I'm not fucking joking. That is real.
I know.
And it was pulled like right before they were actually going to publish it. But yeah, I mean, come on.
Shame on the publisher for paying for that book to be made.
Right?
Well, yeah, it is. I mean, that's pretty much the general consensus of if he did it or not did it, and most people think he did. And it's funny because this chase and the actual verdict are in the top 10 of the most watched televised events in television history. The verdict was number 3, only behind 9/11 and Hurricane Katrina. And the actual chase that we're going to talk about with the Bronco, Ford Bronco, was, I think, number 6. So it was right up there around the Challenger explosion and all that other stuff. But an estimated 95 million people watched this car chase in 94. That's like Super Bowl numbers right there.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
Yeah. So 94 million people watch this. Now, one of the first things is that one of the biggest things, and we're going to talk about the Bronco itself, but at the time especially, I remember this, everybody thought this was OJ's Ford Bronco. Even today, a lot of people, unless they research it and look it up, they think that was OJ's Ford Bronco. The reason that is because OJ did own an identical white Ford Bronco, which actually was confiscated for evidence because it had, which you were saying, Buddha, it had blood splatter all over it. Why would it have blood splatter all over it if he didn't do anything? But the vehicle, these were both 1993 Ford Broncos, by the way. The year was 93. And OJ's Bronco was actually destroyed once the trial concluded. So his Bronco was destroyed. The Bronco that you see in the car chase was not owned by OJ, but it was owned by the person driving it, a gentleman named Al Collins. And Al Collins was OJ's best friend, and he was also a former football player that played on some of the same teams and played on some college teams with OJ, basically a lifelong friend. So that was his Ford Bronco. That's the first thing that most people don't realize. The chase went for miles and miles. It started around 5 o'clock, and it lasted till about 9 p.m. California time or Pacific time. And the amazing thing about this chase was, unlike today, if something like this happened today, you could have people, if you had a big family, you could have people in 14 different rooms watching this car chase on their phones, on their TV, on their computer. Back in those days, everybody congregated right in one room or a bar or whatever to watch this car chase. It wasn't like it is now. So it was just an amazing media event. The channels all broke in. The NBA finals were going on at the time, which is normally a big media event in itself. Those finals were actually stopped so they could show the car chase going on. CNN, ABC, CBS. It was something amazing at the time. I do remember that part of it, thinking, wow, this is pretty crazy. But the Ford Bronco, once everything was done, the vehicle was pulled back to his mansion, or drove rather to his mansion. He was arrested. The rest of that, the trial, all that stuff happened. Well, the Bronco itself, soon after, Al Collins wanted to get rid of it. Okay, again, remember, this vehicle was still practically brand new at the time. It was only like a year old. And the first company there was a company that made a offer on the vehicle itself. And I don't have the name right this moment, but what the company wanted to do, they offered him $75,000 for this Bronco. It wasn't worth even close to that. It might have been worth $15,000 at the time. But what they wanted to do was
Do you know the specs on the car? Like the horsepower, all that stuff?
Well, I don't have that information. It would probably have been a 5.0 liter V8, which is what I don't have that information, but that's mostly what Ford used at that time. It was not any spec. That's my guesstimate. It was probably either a 5.0, maybe a 4.6. That's the engines that Ford would have used at that time. 301, in a V8, a Bronco like that. It was not customized at all. It's a standard stock Ford Bronco. Nothing special, nothing crazy. And the vehicle, so this company offered $75,000. Well, O.J. Simpson's agent, Mike Gilbert, found out what they were going to do with this vehicle was they were going to charge people to ride in it and take them on a tour, like a tour that reenact the whole chase down the freeway and take it right to her grave, Nicole Brown's grave, OJ's wife. Yes, wow. That's what they were going to do.
How tacky.
Were they also going to stab them first?
Oh, jeez.
Oh, my God.
Man, yeah. So I didn't know that until doing some research. So what happened was Al Collins did not like that, and when Mike Gilbert, OJ's former agent, heard this, he said he offered to buy the vehicle for the same $75,000, which Al Collins, much rather sell it to him for that and just keep it in storage than sell it to this other company. So that never actually happened. It never was used for that. Mike Gilbert kept this vehicle in storage from 1995 to 2012. The vehicle never saw. It saw the light of day. He would drive it a few times to keep it, the engine moving and, kind of drive it around town just a couple times. But for the most part, the vehicle stayed in storage all those years. Reportedly, it still has the original gas in it from 1994.
Jeez.
And the other thing was its original tires, original gas, original oil, original everything, according to what he says. Since 1994, the vehicle's only put on an extra 20 miles, and that was only from him taking it out, every once in a while just to drive it around the block or whatever. So, it has not driven much at all, obviously. But as far as the Bronco, and it's funny because someone said this was the best marketing tool Ford could ever have asked for because everybody was looking at the Ford Bronco. Ford could never have, in a million years, had something that could have given advertisement like that.
Whether Do you think it helped or hurt?
Well, that's what I'm going to get into next, actually. Okay. So at that point, around the early 90s, mid 90s, large SUV sales were starting to kind of die off a little bit. People were buying Jeep Grand Cherokees. The Ford Explorer was cannibalizing Ford Bronco sales. People just didn't want that big giant style vehicle much anymore. They didn't sell a lot. They were not good on gas. They were large. So the sales of the Bronco were already, even before this event happened, they were already starting to fall slightly. They still sold, but they weren't selling like they used to, in the years, like in the 80s and that. So what happened, but they were still going strong. They were still going strong enough to keep the car around. But in 1994, 37,000 Broncos were sold. And that was up 7,000 more than the year before. So there's definitely something, they do feel that had something to do with making it boost the sales a little bit. It didn't boost the sales drastically, but I mean, 7,000 more than the year before probably had something to do with it. However, it didn't do much for the Bronco because by 1996, the sales had actually dropped to 28,000. So at that point, Ford got rid of the Bronco. The full-size Bronco was discontinued in 96, and it was never seen. You never heard about the Bronco until, obviously, just recently. The Bronco was re-released. And very strangely enough, it was re-released on July 9th. Okay, the brand new Bronco. July 9th is O.J. Simpson's birthday.
Oh, God.
And I don't know if that was a coincidence. That sounded like a damn close coincidence, but Ford said no, there was no, had nothing to do with that. It just happened to be the date. But they denied any kind of planning it on the same date or anything like that. However, what did happen though, funny enough, they changed the date of the launch to July 13th to avoid any kind of crap.
Yeah.
Right.
You're trying to tell
but
me
people
that
noticed
Ford,
What's
tell
that?
me that from the beginning, Ford used this all as a publicity stunt so they could sell more Broncos, and then 20 years later sell a new Bronco? Is that what you're getting at?
No.
No.
Okay, I was being fucking sarcastic. Jesus Christ, stop taking it so literal.
It's
Was your first fucking day meeting me?
You need to shut the fuck up.
that's seriously
Anyway.
what I have to say.
Proceed, Dan.
Anyway,
Anyway.
yeah. So, but the Bronco, that happened. So obviously, the fact that they changed it to the 13th, that's just something about that seems like they did kind of plan that, because you think about the fact that they know the Bronco and O.J. Simpson, those two names go hand in hand. Even to younger generations and people that were maybe real young, everybody knows the white Bronco. To this day, there's internet memes, with that Bronco there. So I don't know if Ford, it was nothing planned, but who knows? Who the hell knows? But so the vehicle, so today, so then, so getting back to what I was saying, the gentleman kept the vehicle, Mike Gilbert kept it all these years. And just recently, there was some offers made. It was on Pawn Stars. I think they made an offer of over $1 million, I think I was reading.
No, they asked, but Rick passed on it.
Right. So what happened was the vehicle right now is actually on loan. He still owns it, but it's at display at the Alcatraz East Crime Museum in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And the vehicle, it has the original tank of gas, original tires, vehicle registration papers. It's sitting right next to Ted Bundy's Volkswagen and John Dillinger's car.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yep.
I got to tell you, too, the new Ford Bronco looks terrible.
Oh, it's so
awful.
gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something, I think, I like the way the old Broncos look, the old Blazers look from like the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Like this car looks like an ugly Hummer.
Yeah. And what about the Chevy's awful attempt to bring back the Blazer name?
Well, I mean,
Equally
they've had
as terrible.
Right, exactly. Equally as terrible.
I haven't
Terrible
seen.
looking.
I mean, I knew that they downsized the Blazer to be more like an Explorer. Are they trying to bring back Did it ever go away?
No, the Blazer went away for a long time. You're talking about like the 90s when they had the S10 Blazer and then the Blazer like smaller version. But they just brought it back like maybe 3 years ago? It's nothing more than a soccer mom car. It looks like a little tiny. Yeah, it looks
Look it up. It's fucking gross.
It's like, why bring these good names from the past? Don't just call it the Chevy pile of shit, or call it something else. Don't call it the frickin' Blazer. You're screwing with heritage. It's like bringing back a Chevelle and a Chevelle SS and putting a 4-cylinder in it.
Well, in all seriousness, nothing will ever beat the GTO that they brought back. The Australian-made GTO that was basically a fucking Cobalt.
Yes.
Or what was the other ones? Not the G6, but it doesn't matter.
They had
you know
a
what I'm
They had a
talking
G8.
about.
Yeah, they had a G8, but they were going with all those names there, and and I see Larry brought up the Trailblazer. Well, yeah, the Trailblazer was even a hell of a lot more. I don't even say masculine or tough looking or good looking, better
but it
looking
looked
than
more like a truck.
Yes, and it was built on a truck frame.
Yeah.
It was built on a truck frame, not this ridiculous piece of shit Blazer that they have now. I mean,
and those ran up through like the 2010s, didn't they? Was that when the last one was?
The
Trailblazers?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. I apologize.
Yep. Trailblazer lasted till about 2009, and it was also the GMC Envoy, which I actually had one of those. You remember that blue one I had?
Yeah.
Yes.
So those vehicles are actually damn good. Those vehicles are awesome. I mean, they're like I said, they're built on a truck frame, but you
only had that for like a year.
Yeah, I only kept it a year because I had where I lived. I would have kept that thing a lot longer. That thing had 300,000 miles on it and still was running strong.
Yeah, you paid a fortune for it.
Yeah, I paid $2,000
for a car with 300,000 miles on it. Are you crazy?
You can't. Hey, I got a year out of it.
$3,000 for a year. Hold on.
$2,000.
All right, $2,000 for a year. So what is that?
You can't buy a running car anymore for $1,000.
$166 a month for that to have that car.
Yeah.
You telling me you would have paid $166 a month for that car?
No, but I mean,
but you did.
Go online, and I got money. I got money back on it when I sold it, so I made out.
So how much did you sell it for?
Almost $1,000, like $950.
$950?
Yeah.
All right, so 1,000 by 12. Okay, so you paid $83 a month for the car.
Yep. Yeah, about 83. So, yeah.
All right, I would say that's worth it because then you could drive it, and if how much money did you put into fixing it?
Nothing. I never had to fix it.
All right, well that's good. All right.
Yeah.
All right. You've redeemed yourself.
Listen, when it comes to cars, this mofo knows what he's doing.
So real quick, just to reiterate, the one I was thinking of was the G5, and that was Pontiac's version of the Chevy Cobalt.
Yes,
and that is basically what the remade GTO looked like. It was basically a Cobalt, but who the fuck? God damn, like that is such a fucking abortion and such an embarrassment.
Right. Bringing out those, if you want to bring these kind of vehicles,
yes.
If you want to bring these names back, put them on a damn car that, like you said, looks good. Don't, they like I said, bringing back the Blazer name and putting it on a ridiculous looking soccer mom vehicle. It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And the Bronco, I agree with you guys. I think the Bronco looks a little bit better than the Blazer. At least it looks more unique than the Blazer, but it's still awful looking. I wouldn't pay any money for them, but
what I actually didn't mind the look of, not that it's anything like the older cars, but like the newer Malibus, I didn't really think they looked bad. I was like, okay, because I mean, fuck, dude, like there's no cars anymore. They're all fucking crossovers or whatever the fuck they're called nowadays. But if, to your point that you're making, Dan, if you take that fucking Malibu and then look at like a 70 Malibu or late 60s, like that, to me, that's where those were fucking awesome. Right. Or I mean, okay, better example, the fucking Impalas. Dude, the late 60 Impalas were the shit. And then like who the fuck, it turned into like a Lumina.
Right. Yeah, that's all it was. You're exactly right. It turned into a Lumina with a little V6 engine, and Impala, actually, it turned into the not the last generation, but the generation before. That it was nothing but a fleet car. You just saw them in rental lots all the time.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what. You're right. It's. We definitely grew up at the wrong time for sure, because cars were so much cooler back in the day, and pretty much from the 80s on, it kind of started going down the toilet, but. I did look up just to ask what you were asking about, John, about the engine. It was probably, and I was close. I was a little bit off, but it was either a 4.9 liter or a 5.8. So a 351 cubic inch, which is a pretty big engine to today's standards. It's not overly fast. It won't beat out any sports cars, but that was probably the engine that was in it. I knew it had a V8 for sure. They didn't put V6s, I don't think, in those
Definitely
vehicles.
a gas guzzler.
Yeah. And being those guys, football players, I'm sure they bought one that had the best engine and all the options and everything. So
they got the money for that.
Was he still playing when this happened?
Oh,
no.
no.
He was doing commercials after he. Yeah, a little bit of acting. He was doing a lot of commercials. He was doing color commentary on the football, announcer for, I think it was NBC maybe. I think he was announcing a lot of the football games. So he had, he was still, they nicknamed him the Juice. But he was still very popular long after his football career, and that's why he got so much attention. And watching, and you try to think about the world we live in now. How would things happen now? Like at that time, people were on this. You could look at the photos of people on the freeway, putting signs up, giving support to him, not even knowing did he do it. At that point there was some evidence. The fact that he was running and not running, but he was escaping the cops.
Yeah,
made him look guilty as hell.
Did you mention the verdict on the list of most watched moments?
Yes, I think it was third.
Yeah, I remember watching that. I was in fourth grade, and I remember that was on. They put that on the TV in the classroom.
Do you remember what in your? Because I was in school too at the time. Do you remember? Well, of course I was in high school, but do you remember what when did you actually hear the verdict live?
Yeah.
Was there anything or just silence?
I think I remember people yelling. I can't. It's so long ago, but I do remember seeing it or watching it live in the classroom.
I know that because I was a little bit older than you guys, but I remember because we had it too live in the classroom, and when they said not guilty, the school I was in, because I was going to Cleveland school, I wasn't in your guys' school. I mean, you could hear the entire school just completely explode. I mean, it was just loud cheering, like everyone won the lottery. It was just, I didn't expect to hear that, and obviously there were a lot of O.J. Simpson fans in that school because everybody just went crazy when they said not guilty.
I think it's just like a similar case, the Casey Anthony case. They just could not find enough convincing evidence to say without a reasonable doubt that he was innocent or guilty.
Right, and it did not help that the California police, the Los Angeles police botched the hell out of the investigation too. From what I don't know the full details. I don't know the full details, but I heard that they botched the hell out of it.
Yeah,
so.
and people say that they did it on purpose. So who knows?
Honestly, once Johnny Cochran busted out the Chewbacca defense, there was no way they were going to convict him.
Oh boy. I mean, it even he became extremely popular in the the pop culture zeitgeist. You know what I mean? He was on a TV show, Johnny Cochran.
Oh, they all did. His whole defense. They were like celebrities.
No, exactly. They were on TV and
the judge.
Yeah,
Ito.
Judge Lancito or Judge Ito.
Yep. Something Ito, yeah. And then Shapiro.
Yep. And they've made that TV series, mini series about it, and but I remember Johnny Cochran being on an episode of Family Matters.
Yeah.
When it was Urkel breaks up with his girlfriend, and her uncle's Johnny Cochran is going to take him to court.
Was this before or after the?
Definitely after.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been before. Family Matters was on a while before that, but yeah.
Good old TGIF.
Yep, TGL. I remember that. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the story. I thought it was, you brought it up last week, John. I thought it would make a good subject matter. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it, but just what I went over there. Kind of interesting to find out what happened to the vehicle. And I guess this is the second most, another statistic I heard, which kind of goes back to what I did a while back, we did on Type 3, was it's the second most viewed vehicle under...
The JFK limo?
You got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Would you take a ride in the car?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd take a ride in both of those cars. Yeah, I would. I don't have any kind. I mean, if the JFK limo was there, I'd sit right in the back seat. I mean, and as far as the Bronco is concerned, I mean, nothing happened in that. No one got killed. Nobody was, murdered in it or anything like that. All he was, was just Al Collins, and he was just sitting on the floor, supposedly with a gun to his head, which, who knows if that's true or not. But
wait, what?
So during the chase, I'm sorry, I should have probably brought that into it. Yeah, I mean, during the chase, that's what was going on. Al Collins was driving the vehicle, and O.J. Simpson was in the Bronco. He was on the floor, or I don't know if he was on the back seat or in the floor. You can't see him in the vehicle ever. All you see is Al Collins driving it. But I believe from what I've read is he was like stretched out in the back seat with a gun, supposedly with a gun to his head. And that was one of the reasons. Huh?
Good friend.
Good friend?
Well, that's you said they were friends. It's like, hey, buddy, thanks for the lift.
Well, I think this was one of those things where once the cops all found him, caught up, started chasing him. He was initially he was in the vehicle in plain view, but once the chase started, for whatever reason, maybe he, got, I don't know, started feeling sorry for himself, and thinking, okay, this is it. And that's when he supposedly, put the gun to his head. And Al Collins was telling the cops to stay away. And he had a cell phone. He told them to stay away, keep back. He's going to kill himself. He supposedly left a suicide note. All this stuff, which obviously, to Buddha's point, a completely innocent person doesn't act like this.
Right.
They just don't. An innocent person does not act like this at all. They're going to fight and say, to hell with this. I didn't fucking kill my wife. They're not going to, put a gun to their head and take the police on a 10-mile car chase.
Yeah.
You know what's like kind of surprising, but still unsurprising, is that even after all that shit went down, obviously he was found not guilty. And then years, like decades later, him getting in trouble for breaking into that hotel room or whatever. Was it a hotel room or apartment?
It was
I don't
hotel.
remember.
Yeah, hotel room.
I think hotel.
To steal back his own memorabilia. And then he did time, and then he got out, and the book thing, like he still gets his NFL pension.
So he's doing good then.
Yeah, it says his main source of income is his NFL pension. But kind of weird. It says his net worth is only $3 million, which I would think. I mean, I'm sure legal fees did not help.
Oh yeah. He was completely, once that whole thing. Look at that high-powered, legal counsel that he had. Every one of those lawyers were, top-notch lawyers. So I think, once everything was done and said, he was practically broke right after the trial because of, like you just said, all the lawyers and everything. Shapiro and that guy that from Cleveland that what was the other guy's? The older white gentleman. He just died recently. Bailey, R.F. Bailey or something like that. Anyway, he was part of this. He was part of the team. He was the one that defended that guy that in Cleveland, that the doctor that killed his wife in Cleveland in the 30s.
Oh, Sam Shepard.
Yep. That's a story we never did on here.
Yeah. Been
But
done.
that's
All
it.
right. All right, cool. All right. So we'll round the corner here, and do you guys have any weird superstitions? Do you practice any, or do you?
I have OCD pretty bad.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, but do you have any superstitions?
Not super. I was saying the OCD thing almost acts like sometimes superstitious stuff that you do, but not like I'm scared of a black cat crossing in front of me, or I don't climb under a ladder or nothing like that.
So sorry, it's getting late. I pulled up a Reddit thread here on some crazy superstitions. So one is somebody posted here, I hold my breath when I pass a cemetery. Someone told me once that it's the only way to make sure you don't get possessed by a ghost. I wrote it off as ridiculous. I didn't notice I was subconsciously doing it until I was stuck in traffic next to a huge veteran cemetery. I just really don't like ghosts. So,
All right.
I never heard that one before.
Every time I talk about something possibly happening, I always knock on wood. Either of you guys ever knocked on wood?
I do that. Yes.
Okay.
I do
That's
it for
whenever.
a living.
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, we get that, but I'm talking about the superstition.
Not.
Yep.
I've gone through the motions of saying it, but I don't genuinely believe in it.
Okay. Do you? And I remember a group of our friends growing up. Every time they'd go under a yellow light, they'd knock on the windshield as they went under.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that.
Did you ever do that?
No.
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 I
Okay.
swear at it. I swear at it.
No, I swear at
So
all
if
the
I-
drivers.
All right, and here's one from somebody that says, my family is a little superstitious. For example, you can't give knives as gifts without including a small denomination of money. The money is to be immediately returned to the gift giver as payment for the knives. If the knives go unpaid for, the owner of the knives will cut themselves with said knives. You also can't give the gift or a wallet or a purse without including a small denomination of cash. This is to be kept by the receiver of the gift. If you don't include money with this gift, you doom the receiver to be penniless as long as they're in possession of the gift.
I mean, do people hear themselves?
I mean, but okay. So one superstition I've heard is, and I do this is I don't hand anyone a knife. And one of the superstition behind that is that if you do eventually, or if you do, you'll exchange nasty words with them. And so typically I'll set it on the table and let the other person pick it up off the table.
That's fucking retarded.
Why?
What in any possible realistic scenario in the entire fucking world is handing someone a knife going to turn into having nasty words
I
with
shouldn't
them?
have handed you that one on Friday.
You didn't hand me one on Friday. I didn't even see you on Friday.
Yeah, you did. We went to Bamba.
Well, you didn't hand me a fucking knife. I ate tacos. Listen, me and you are going to exchange nasty words regardless. So
Yeah, that's true. After the show, I'm going to get my verbal beating.
you're going to get it right now.
Let's see here. There was a couple more here. When somebody's walking onto an airplane, they have to touch the outside of the plane as for good luck.
I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
It's still retarded, but I've heard it before.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm not a little I'm a little stitious, not superstitious.
That's the first thing that popped into my head when
Yeah,
you brought
I
this
know.
up.
Don't step on a crack. Obviously, you break your mother's back. Let's see. Someone says that they had a superstition from that every time they engaged in adult activities with the opposite sex, they within 2 weeks' time wrecked their car, so they stopped doing that.
Define adult activities that they stopped doing.
They engaged in coitus
So they stopped having sex
in their car.
In their car.
In
Yes,
the car.
yeah.
You didn't say that. I thought you
Yeah.
just meant in general.
I'm sorry. Yes, the person was enjoying coitus in their car, and then they would eventually get into a wreck within 2 weeks. So they said, "Stop! I'm gonna stop doing that."
We'll tell them to stop doing it while they're driving.
Yeah. Let's see here. Somebody throughout their entire time playing baseball in college says that they did not touch the foul line ever. Like they, thought it would be bad luck. People wearing certain items of clothing for good luck. You ever do that?
I literally only own like 4 articles of clothing.
Yeah. And one of them's a loudness shirt.
Yeah, that was a bad person to ask Buddha.
Yeah. You got that scrunchie, that good luck scrunchie?
No.
The same 4 shirts that he's had for 15 years.
I'm wearing my lucky rubber.
You guys ever heard this one? No new shoes on the table. New shoes on the table means bad luck.
No. Who's putting their shoes on the table?
Brand new pair of shoes out of the box.
Well, I don't know. Why would you put them on the table, though?
Somebody put in here, I must get out of the bathroom before the toilet flushes or a monster will come out and eat me.
Now that one I believe.
Yeah, see? There you go. Let's see. I had a bunch of these. Black cat's crossing the road. Good luck, bad luck.
I think he's just crossing the road.
Boy. One person says I have to put my left pant leg on first or all hell will break loose.
Oh, boy.
That's OCD. All right, so Buddha, okay, if you're
That's
not
definitely
superstitious,
OCD.
what's the OCD that you have? Like, what are some of your tics?
Double checking the locks is
I do
definitely
that.
one.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me. So this is the weird part. It doesn't bother me at any time unless I'm going to bed. That is the only time that I like OCD about it. But if it's like I'm in and out during the day, nothing. Doesn't bother me at all. Turning off the faucet, like at the bathroom sink, it's like I can't describe it. It's like a weird tick. Like both of the handles have to be set the same way, or else it like fucking bothers me. Like stupid shit like that, man.
So you're looking at like balances, symmetry.
Yeah. I guess that would be it. Work. A lot of the
Psychopath.
shit. Yeah, dude. Well, I talk to myself a lot.
No, I'm just
so
messing. Yeah.
it's just when you start responding is when you got problems.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
I'm pretty OCD about work, and like that's a good thing, in the sense that like I want to make sure shit is right, but at the same time, like sometimes it's like to the point where I'm like, holy shit, like I know I need to fucking stop because it's not getting any better. Like it's
Right.
fine, but
Or
I'll
how do
still
I get
like,
how do I get out of my own head? You know?
yeah. I don't have like,
I do that with the garage door. Like I'll have to stare at it and be like, it's closed.
yeah, sometimes, dude, sometimes shit like that'll hit me and I'll be like laying in bed and I'm like, did I fucking blah, blah, blah. And then I'll like have to fucking get out of bed to check, even though I know I just did it fucking 30 seconds ago.
I had that about an email the other day. I'm like, I needed to send an email for something, and I sent it, and I know I sent it, but I'm like, what if the person read the email the wrong way, and like I fucked all this shit up without even trying?
Oh, see, that shit don't bother me at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, it says what it says.
Somebody put in here they don't name their cars anymore. Every car they've ever nicknamed had broken down on them.
Oh, God.
Do you
Every
nickname your
car-
cars, Dan?
I have had probably 17 vehicles in my life, and I have never once named a car.
Trying to
Somebody-
say you're not a virgin.
I think women do that mostly, though. I don't think guys name their cars. I think that's mostly a woman thing. Mostly.
Really? I feel like it'd be the opposite. I feel like look that up. I feel like the general consensus is going to be men giving cars women names, female names.
Yeah. Lawrence of the Simpson put on here, not walking under a ladder. Do you ever walk under a ladder on a job site, Buddha?
Yeah, that shit don't bother me.
Yeah.
I more so have trouble with falling off of them.
How many have you fallen off of?
A handful, but never anything super high. It's like, it's more so like I'll stumble or I'll get caught up and fall. Nothing like, I never got hurt. The worst that ever happened is I fell off one probably around 10 feet and I was fine. Like I just jammed my wrist a little bit, but
Jim Ross.
fortunately.
Good God Almighty!
Yeah.
God is my
But-
witness. He is broken in half.
Well, Andy is a fucking dummy, and he was carrying a sheet of plywood up to the top of this roof, and the wind caught it, and there was just no way to catch himself, and he actually got like thrown off the ladder that way, and the only reason he didn't just like slam to the ground is because he stuck his feet like straight out and pretty much used that on his boots rubbing on the siding of the house to kind of like slow his fall. And there was like skid marks from his boots like down the wall on the outside from the fucking siding. He ended up breaking his ankle, but I mean, he could have fucking died, broke some serious shit. But he hit the deck so hard, the siding on the house exploded.
Have you ever, somebody had written in here for an OCD tick, volume in multiples of 5. So like if you're
Odd
turning
numbers has to be odd numbers.
so you're always on odd.
Always. Natalie's always uneven.
Yeah.
That
There you go.
that shit doesn't really even think. I don't think about that stuff.
Dan's on a 33. Let's see here. Oh, here's another one. Spill salt on the table, throwing it over your shoulder.
No, none of that shit.
No.
Yeah.
I don't even put salt on anything.
Just remember Dumb and Dumber when he throws the salt and he
The shaker.
yeah, and he fucking hits Seabass.
Yeah.
Kick his ass, Seabass. Let's see here. Larry also put in here he knocks on his head versus on wood. So you ever heard the superstition of when you hear that ringing in your ear like a tone?
Someone's talking about you.
Exactly, yeah.
No, it's
I
fucking
was going to mention that
tinnitus.
one.
What-
I
what's
can't
that, Dan?
fucking tell you how many times when I've had that ringing in my ear, literally 5 minutes later, I get a text message or I get a phone call or something, or I found out somebody was talking about me just,
So you believe it?
that day. I actually kind of do believe that one. Yeah.
All right. There you go. All right, Buddha, scientific analysis, please.
It's tinnitus. Hands down, it's fucking tinnitus.
So I've heard that the medical explanation is that as you're hearing that frequency, your ability to hear that frequency goes away.
What do you mean?
Like it's like dying, and so like that'll be the last time you hear it.
Oh, it's like, I think it's like the cilia in your ear is damaged. I'm pretty sure that that's what it is. I get it periodically.
Yeah.
It's different tones, and they say that there's a trigger that causes it, and it's generally like, so you get it from loud noise, and it generally, like, people that work in like a machine shop or play in a band or stuff like that, it's like those loud transients are generally what causes it. But you can get it. I mean, I remember one of the dudes when I went to school, they were talking about like his father got it from literally like working on like a metal shed and just being inside of it, hammering on shit, and just everything reflecting, off the fucking metal ended up causing him to get it. But I definitely have like a mild case because it comes and goes, whereas some people's are just like nonstop forever.
Yeah. I
Rarely have it happen.
I once I played a show. Oh God, I forget where it was, but the monitor speaker was so fucking loud, like I couldn't hear for 3 days after that show. And I had that ringing, and then I have also had that when I saw Slayer once, and that happened to me too.
You guys talking about the ringing or like that pulsating sound?
No, it'll be like one specific frequency. It's not like your ears are ringing like, wow, that was really loud. It'll literally be like,
It sounds like a pitch.
like, yeah, like if you were to put on like a pure sine wave of whatever frequency, that's what you would hear.
See, I don't get that then. That's not what I was referring to. I get like a pulsating sound in my ear that lasts for like a half a second or so. Every once in a while. I mean, it only happens like maybe once a month, if that. And that's what I was actually talking about.
Yeah. Somebody also on here says volume on my car stereo must be at an odd number, except for 13 because that would be bad luck, obviously.
Double OCD and superstitious.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
But yeah.
You mentioned the locks, Buddha. I'm bad with that. And it's funny you mentioned the exact way you actually described it is how I am. I don't give a shit about the doors during the day, even at night until I'm ready to go to sleep. I don't just, and here's where I'm getting real bad OCD, because I don't just look at the door and just I don't just hit the lock and just make sure that it's locked. I actually
Fucking
put
stare
force
at
on
it.
Well, I don't stare at it, but I put force on it to make sure that it's actually locked for like a second or so. Like I almost break the damn lock because I want to make sure it's actually locked.
Then what? You'd be in a real pickle then if you broke that lock.
Yes, I would be.
How do you deal with that then?
Well, I don't go. I refrain myself from going that far to where I break it. I just make sure that I put enough strength in it to make sure that it's locked. Obviously, I locked it. It doesn't need that extra strength, but I'm doing it just because, like you mentioned, OCD. And the other thing too is when I shut my TV off and my lights off in the living room, I actually stay there for like about 4 or 5 seconds, maybe a little bit longer, to make sure it's weird. Like I want to make sure that there's no electrical fires, nothing sparks, nothing happens for like 5 or 10 seconds. I do that religiously every time I shut everything off. I'm weird, man. I do got OCD pretty bad with stuff like that.
Dan in a nutshell. No, I have the same thing. One of the greatest things that technology has offered, but it's also kind of creepy because it kind of gives you gets into your life a little more. But I was always worried about the stove being on when I left, and so we got a couple of new appliances this summer, and I can tell if the range, the cooktop is on and the oven is on from my phone, and so it kind of puts me at ease a little bit, but also kind of weird because now I can tell if my oven's on.
You know who else can tell? The government.
Yeah. Well, they'll know that The Rock is cooking something, I guess.
Wow.
All right. So yeah, just some weird superstitions. I thought they'd be kind of interesting to talk about, see if you guys had any. Obviously, I should know with both of you. Neither of you are superstitious. And so, do you believe in karma then?
I don't know that I really no. I think I believe in it more in a sense of like energy, not in a sense of like if you do bad stuff will come to you and vice versa, because there's a lot of really good people that are dealt a shitty hand, and there's a lot of really bad people that have had it pretty fucking easy.
That's true. Yeah.
Where do you fall in that?
I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm fucking chaotic neutral.
There you go.
Passive aggressive.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan?
Really, he made a great point. I mean, that is true. I do believe in it in some point, but then like he just said, there are really good people out there that, do the right thing. They live a good life. They donate to, they're just good people. And like he said, they drop dead or they get into a car accident or something horrible happens to them. And then, it makes you, but then I have seen people in my family and people I've known that have been, POSs and have gotten, dealt a bad hand and like almost like they got what they deserved. It didn't happen right away. My mom used to have a saying, not saying, but she always believed that like, if you did something bad, it wouldn't get you right. It might not get you the next day or the next week or even the next year, but within a few years or so, you're going to get something's going to come back at you. The bad karma will get you. My mom definitely believed in it, but I have a little bit of a belief in it, but not to a high extent.
What about the fortune cookies?
Definitely don't believe in those.
When is the last time you had a fortune cookie?
Oh, years and years and years ago.
The dude at work yesterday got like Chinese takeout or whatever, and I can tell you the fortunes are not what they used to be like when we were younger.
They're more like proverbs now.
No, they're like some fucking dude is sitting around writing stuff. Like he got 2 of them, and the one said, "You are as intelligent as you are handsome." That was the one. And the second one was something about you have your own something of style. And it's like, I'm reading this wearing a fucking bandana and some like a work shirt and some fucking shorts.
Stilts.
I'm like, yeah, like
getting roids from
socks up to my knees.
Yeah. Getting hemorrhoids from wearing them stilts. It's just going to say, you will wear stilts and grow a tomato out your asshole.
You're right. Those quartered oranges.
Oh. La. Whoops. Wrong key.
God damn it.
This is Buddha getting his
That's my stomach.
Yeah. All right. On that note,
Buddha's officially pissed now.
We're shutting this son of a bitch
hate
down.
that one.
Come on.
So that means you gotta keep using it every show then, John.
Listen, I think it's unfair that Dan gets theme music and I don't.
Okay, let's see. We need to think about that. What's your favorite show or song? I know it's gotta be some kind of
I'll find something medieval
music
for him.
Is it gonna be?
Medieval's
Is it gonna be I Am a Real American?
No.
something medieval. That's for tough, brave people. We're talking about Buddha here, man. Come on.
Something from played on a hurdy-gurdy.
All right. Well, we'll save that for next week. I will have a theme song for Buddha before next episode. So tune in next Thursday, somewhere between 8 and 8:30 p.m.
No, fucking 8 o'clock. Make it your beeswax to be there by 8 o'clock.
Hey, listen. I had previous engagements.
Why don't you set those previous engagements to a previous day?
All right. So from the mistake on the lake, deep within the great American Rust Belt, say goodnight, Buddha.
Good night, Buddha.